Now, Washington Mornings on the Mall. 105.9 FM. And AM 630. WMAL.
7:37 on WMAL. Brian Eman, Katie Pallage from Town Hall is in for Brian Wilson today while he's on vacation. Good to have you in, Katie.
Great to be here.
We have Virginia Governor BOB MCDONNEll coming up. He's been talked about as
thrown around
as a running mate for Mitt Romney. He has been in office since 2009, the first really start of the anti-Obama movement that we have seen in this country. And it's done a pretty good job. There's a surplus now in Virginia. His approval numbers are high. And Virginia is a battleground state. There's no doubt about it. Governor McDonnell joins us now. Governor, how are you?
Hey, Brian and Katie, good morning. I'm doing fine. Happy Monday.
All right, so
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday to you, and you know you're going to get this question every time, and I won't disappoint you. So are you still a possible running mate for Mitt Romney? Are you still in the mix for a vice president possibility? Is that out there?
Well, you're going to have to call Boston and ask them. I'll let you know as soon as I know. Listen, all I can tell you, Brian, is, I know we've had some chats about it before, but I'm going to leave that completely up to the Romney camp about when they're going to make that announcement. And ultimately, vice presidents don't determine the outcome of the election. It's the president or candidate and his or her policies and ideas. And in this case, I think that's why Mitt Romney is going to win Virginia, because his ideas on jobs, taxes, spending, debt, energy are the best ones for Virginia.
Well, speaking of Virginia, Governor, I had the opportunity to see you speak at the Defending the American Dream Summit last weekend, put on by Americans for Prosperity. And you ran down your track record in the state. You had a budget deficit. What was the number on that?
Well, over the 3 years, it was about $6 billion deficit, Katie. And, listen, we chose what a lot of Republican governors are doing, and that is fiscal responsibility, and eliminated the deficit without raising taxes, with spending cuts and some other strategies. And, it's worked. We've had 3 surpluses in a row, lowest unemployment rate in the Southeast, and so we're in reasonably good shape, but there's just unprecedented uncertainty out of Washington right now, and it's hurting us.
Do you feel that the success that Republican governors have had, especially after the 2010 midterm elections, all of them have lowered unemployment in their states, do you believe that will resonate nationally and really reflect on the upcoming election in November?
Well, Katie, I think it will, and I think the case has to be made that while Republican governors are doing well, and you've mentioned the fact that every state that elected a Republican governor in 2010 has had a drop in the unemployment rate. We're a full point below those states that have Democratic governors, because they've chosen higher taxes and other strategies that obviously haven't been as successful. In fact, 12 out of the 15 states that just got ranked as having the best business climate for jobs in their states have Republican governors. So while we're doing well, I think we'd all say we'd do a lot better with a Mitt Romney as president, because we'd have a lot better climate fiscally at the federal level on taxes, regulation, and litigation, and other things that spur economic development. So, Republican governors are doing well. I think that's a good symbol of what Mitt Romney, former governor, would do.
All right, a lot of people around here, I'm sure you're worried about this as well, because there are so many defense contractors and defense jobs in Virginia. I think it's either number 1 or number 2 in the nation when it comes to states having jobs tied to the Defense Department in some way or another. Sequestration is coming. If nothing is done before January 2nd, then the number kicks in at $110 million that has to be cut from the Defense Department, and contractors and jobs will be lost.
That's just in the next year.
That's just in the next year, right. The number is much higher than that over a 10-year rollout. Where do you see this right now? Do you think it will happen, or will people come to their senses in time before January 2nd?
Brian, that's a really good question. We've been talking a lot about that the last month, and I've written numerous letters and we've held press conferences and so forth. Listen, the United States is about broke at the federal level. We are $16 trillion in debt, and with the failed leadership of this president, it's getting worse and worse. There's no appetite to control spending, and frankly, we've had problems for for decades in Washington in that. Governors have to balance budgets. They don't. And so we have to cut. But the strategy that was used with sequestration last year was simply a finger in the dike to keep the country from defaulting. Yesterday was a year anniversary with Standard & Poor's downgrading our credit rating under this president's watch. Mm-hmm. And so it was never meant to actually go into effect. It was meant to be a hammer over everybody's head to get a deal. And then, Brian, the rest of the story. The super committee failed. Congress hasn't acted. Mm-hmm. And here we are with 2 months to go before every defense contractor probably in the country is going to have to send out what's called warn notices under the federal law to basically tell employees, hey, you may not have a job January 1st. It's just an irresponsible way to do it.
By the way,
every area needs to cut, but this is not the right way. It was a haphazard way. The Defense Department's got no plan on how that would be implemented, so they need to fix it, and fix it now.
On the warn notice, you're former Attorney General, you know these things. The Department of Labor said, you know what, those letters aren't needed. Do you think those letters should go out before the election, the 90-day or the 60 days before they're supposed to actually happen?
Well, that's going to be a decision that each corporate counsel and CEO is going to have to make. Some of them have been disciplined before for not sending those out, and I think this Department of the Interior, the Department of Labor opinion, it doesn't give them a whole lot of comfort because it's going to be individual employees that would have the cause of action. So, it's just a quandary that they're in as to whether they should or whether they shouldn't. But my point is, don't even put these employers in that spot. Your point is correct. 122,500 Virginians would be likely to get those. More than that, get the notices, but that would be the number estimated to be laid off if you have $600 billion over 10 years going into effect on top of the 487 that was cut last year. So, I just think it imperils the security of the United States, of the military, and unfairly puts the burden on federal workers in the defense sector, which we have plenty in Virginia.
Well, Governor, also, you talked about how this is not the right way to go about cutting spending out of the federal budget. Well, entitlements are clearly the main issue and the problem with our $16 trillion debt. And, of course, that President Obama's Obamacare has been upheld as a tax, but in the end it's really just another entitlement. How is that going to affect your state now that it's been upheld and will be implemented in 2013?
Well, Katie, you put your finger on the problem, and that is over the last 20, 30, 40 years, the welfare state continues to grow, and we have more entitlements, more guarantees, and we're putting less focus on opportunities in the private sector and so forth. And honestly, that's the whole issue in this election: is which way do we go as a country? So Obamacare, and we fought against it. We were the first state to file suit. We'll put about a $2.2 billion expense on Virginia if we expand the Medicaid system. We're unlikely to do that, I can tell you, in Virginia, if we don't have substantial reform. The system is not working well. We have no flexibility with the programs. It is very bureaucratic and expensive. It's controlled largely by federal rules, and so to think that we're really going to have 100% state match a federal match for 3 years and then 90% in perpetuity thereafter, we don't see how in the world federal government can afford it. And that's just one entitlement. So without dramatic entitlement reform, we are going to continue to increase the debt and deficit and put this immoral burden on our children and grandchildren. So we need major reform there.
Mitt Romney said to be kicking off a 4-day bus tour on August 10th in Virginia. Are you going to be a part of that?
Absolutely. I will be with him most of the day Saturday, a week from, this coming Saturday, a number of stops that he's making around the state, and very much look forward to it. I think Virginia is obviously competitive. Both candidates said it's critical to their chances of success, and we welcome Mr. Romney here.
Larry Sabato said that sounds like a VP rollout to him. Does that to you?
Well, that crystal ball is right some of the time. I don't know whether it's right about this. I'm really not sure, but it's good to have him here because I do think that he was 8 points down just 4 months ago. It's now even. It's trending the right way. The enthusiasm and the grassroots operation in Virginia is superb, and we want more and more people to see what Mitt Romney will do for Virginia compared to this stream of bureaucratic unfunded mandates on on Virginia, the anti-energy policies, the unfriendly business policies coming out of Washington. I want people in Virginia to know that there's a real clear choice.
All right. Governor McDonnell, good to have you on as always. We appreciate it.
All right, Brian and Katie, have a great day.
Thank you very much. Have a good one.
We're a little late, but I wanted to see if I could pin the governor down on the possibility of him being
We
a
tried.
running mate. And there's no surprise he didn't say that. Yeah, sure, I'm going to be the